don't know if that's what I want to.
No, I think that's being
think that's
recorded
all.
now.
Well, are you sure?
Yeah,
Yep, okay, that's good.
the session is being recorded, it says.
Yeah, all right, okay.
Kind of confusing.
All right. Should we move the camera so whoever is sitting here will be on camera? So that's good. All right, good. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. Today's webinar, we're going to be talking about the 2014 Association of Rural and Small Libraries Annual Conference. And the format is going to be first a brief discussion or talk from each of the grant recipients in 2014 and their experiences from the ARSL conference in Tacoma, Washington. Before we start, first I'd just like to say a few words about what the Department of Libraries has been doing with the ARSL conference. This year it's going to be in Little Rock, Arkansas, and the grant is currently out and all the information has been sent out. But if you have a question about the grant, you can either please contact me or contact Mara or somebody from the Department of Libraries. This year we'll be giving 5 grant awards, and that will pay for the conference, transportation, food, and accessories, whatever that might be. Who knows? We won't go into that.
Bring back some swag.
Bring back some swag, yeah. So the other thing I'd like to mention too, I'll talk a little bit about ARSL. ARSL is a national organization, association, that's dedicated to the development and growth of small public libraries. And they accomplish this by creating resources and services that will help advance that on a national, state, and local level. A couple of things I brought along with me that I thought I would mention. 2 articles about rural libraries that if you want, I can either send out to you or you can Google. And both of them I thought are really pretty excellent. One is Rural Libraries, the Heart of Our Communities, and this was written by Susan Hildreth, who is the past IMLS director. And she talks about issues and concerns that rural public libraries deal with.
Feedback going on.
Oh, Mara, you have to mute yourself. Mara's muted herself. And Susan wrote this back in 2006, I believe, when she was a state librarian in California. And then after that became the IMLS. And it's really pretty, it really covers a lot of information about rural libraries and their importance to communities. The other one was a report that the Institute of Museum and Libraries did on rural libraries, and that's the state of small and rural libraries in the United States. And I should define what a small library is. A small library is a community of 25,000 or less less people. And so 25,000 population less. Is that? Oh. And so one of the things I just wanted to mention that there is approximately a little over 9,000 public libraries in America. And out of that, a little over 4,100 are small public libraries, which consists of about 43% of all the public libraries in America. So rural libraries are really make up a large percentage of public libraries, and they serve approximately a population of 30 million. ARSL, as I mentioned, is really dedicated to providing growth and assistance to small rural public libraries throughout the country. And today, like I thought I would mention, that we'll go around the room and have the attendees from the 2014 Tacoma Annual Conference do a brief presentation. After that, we'll open it up for discussion, and if anybody has any questions, they can type it in and we'll try to get to those. If not, this will be recorded, so if you know anybody who's thinking of applying for the Department of Libraries ARSL grant in 2015, which will be in Little Rock, Arkansas, please go online. The information is on the Department of Libraries webpage. Emails have gone out. Information or questions, you can contact anybody at the department, but specifically Mara or me, or any of the presenters here. They'd be happy to, help you out or tell you about the conference, what they liked, what their thoughts were, and give you some inside information. I've had the good luck to attend 3 of the ARSL conferences. Each one of them I thought was excellent. I think that the Department of Libraries realizes that this has really been a positive kind of continuing education program. And Marti is a big supporter of that and realizes that it is great to get out, see what other people across the country are doing, talk with your colleagues. And also, I think the other thing that was great was folks had an opportunity to meet with other Vermont public librarians, which always doesn't happen. Everybody's busy. It's hard to get out of your library. It's hard to meet with other libraries from different parts of the state. So I think that was a really big advantage. Networking locally and networking on a larger scale nationally. Quickly, I just mentioned, I guess, a few of the dates, and that's it. Just to let you know what you're looking at. The conference this year, as I mentioned, will be in Little Rock, Arkansas, and it's from September 30th to October 3rd. The registration information is on the Department of Library's webpage, and to any Vermont public librarian. The application deadline will be June 12th, and the awards announcement will be June 19th. So with that, I guess I'll open it up to the group and have the first presenter, which will be, is it going to be you, Cheryl? Or Cindy? I should read, yeah, before we start, I should mention who the attendees at the 2014, I'm sorry, were Cheryl Cox, Children's Librarian from Springfield Town Library, Marti Fiske, Director, Dorothy Allen, Loona Brogan, Director at the Cutler Memorial Library, Cindy Weber, Director at the Stove Free, Nancy Wilson, Lawrence Memorial Library Director, Joy Worland, Waitsfield no longer, but now at the Kellogg Hubbard Library, Allison Smith from the Petty Memorial Library, and Emily Service will not be here today, but everybody else has made it. And all right, let you go. Yep.
Hi, I'm Cheryl from the Springfield Town Library. I'm a children's librarian there, and I really enjoyed my time at the conference last September. Hearing and talking with librarians from rural areas who share the same challenges, budgets, and amount of staffing that we do is incredibly valuable. A lot of times I go to conferences like NELA or ALA, and I hear these wonderful ideas of things that libraries are doing, and I kind of start to get discouraged, and then I realize, well, they have 5 children's librarians, and they have an enormous amount of money. So it's just a different league altogether. But here, it was a nice feeling of being at home with people that have, as I say, the same budgets, the same challenges. Sometimes their challenges are a little bit different, but it's all kind of the same stuff. Specifically, I was encouraged to expand my use of social media to promote my library, which has always historically been a challenge for me, and I know it's something that I need to do more of. But since then, I've been more active with Pinterest, Twitter, and Facebook. And I'm pretty much the only one in my library who does that sort of thing, so I probably need to expand it even more. I picked up a lot of ideas to enhance my story times and after-school programming, and best of all, the ideas were doable. I learned some new songs, crafts, ideas that promote early literacy. I got ideas for story times that would serve older children with special needs, and even expanded maybe to adults with special needs, something which I haven't done, but something that I'm really thinking seriously about. There were board game workshops, new music, new songs and things to do with new movement activities, lots of fun things to do. You know, it's all the same stuff, but it's all different from a different aspect. I learned that the Idaho Commission for Libraries is very much involved in promoting a statewide makerspace movement. They provide training for their librarians, and ideas. They have a newsletter which goes out, which I subscribe to. It's an email letter. And it talks about all the things that they do, which are things that we could do here too. They made things like they lit up the ugly Christmas sweaters. They would light up with conductive thread, and they had robotics and the 3D printers. So that was a lot of fun. And meeting the people who write the email letter was very valuable to me, because I had subscribed to the email letter before going to the conference. So I knew all the names, and it was wonderful just to meet them. I attended a pre-conference session, which I was very excited about. It was called the Gizmo Garage. And it's a terrific idea that I would love to do in my library. It's again with Idaho, and it was the Idaho Commission for Libraries, the state library, that designated 4 Gizmo garages within the state. So the garage is a library, and it was at the 4 different corners of the state. And the gizmos are collections of devices, different brands of tablets, like a Kindle and an iPad and a Surface, a Google Chrome, maybe a Nook and a couple of smartphones thrown in. And the state owns that particular, the package of gizmos. And the 4 libraries that are the garages are temporary garages, so that each library would have the gizmos for 3 months or so, and then they'd pass it on to the next library. And during that time, when a particular designated library has the devices, the staff members are expected to take over one of the devices and learn it and know everything about it, so they become the expert. So you could be an expert in an iPad or a Kindle. Then you put on a workshop where you invite your patrons to either bring in their devices or to use yours, or the part of the gizmos that are in the garage, and just show them how to do things like download an ebook or go into Overdrive and download the apps and do things that they don't really or don't feel comfortable doing. And a lot of times I find now that when people come into my library, they ask questions about, well, how do I get into Overdrive? How do I do this on my device? And I can't say I'm an expert at all, but I've become familiar enough with the Kindle and the iPad that when somebody either calls on the phone or comes into the library, I can kind of talk them into how to do certain things on there. And it may be just simply how do I set up an email account or whatever. So this, I think, is a great idea, and maybe there are some libraries that could get together and pool all the devices that they have and share it and then pass it along and have workshops for patrons to come in and have staff members who are confident enough to show people how to do things on the different devices. So I thought it was a really valuable idea for me, and it was something that gave me the confidence to go ahead and learn how to use all these different kinds of devices and try to help people with that. So I guess in general, I can say that the conference gave me a feeling of really renewed energy and excitement about being a children's librarian. And I came away with the affirmation that what we do in Vermont in general and at my library in particular is just right on target. And that no matter where we're from, everybody seems to have the interests of their patrons in mind. So I would really encourage you to go to Little Rock. And I think taking advantage of an opportunity like this just broadens your outlook, it gives you new insight, and it kind of refreshes your thinking. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Cheryl. 30 seconds.
So I'm Cindy Weber from the Stowe Free Library, and I just wanted to thank the Department of Libraries for letting me go to Tacoma for this ARSL grant. It was a wonderful experience. My goal for going to the conference was to build some new and lasting relationships with other librarians by collaborating and exchanging ideas. And since then, some of us have been on Facebook, and I could say that I've learned some things from some of our librarians that went on this trip. Emily had an information table at her town meeting, which was really cool. Allison joined the Rotary Club, which is really cool. And Nancy had a trivia night, I think. Did you have a trivia night? Yeah. So it was fun. It was fun, good ideas. The sessions I attended were about community engagement, service and outreach, advocacy, technology, and planning. So I attended a pre-conference, which was on community building, and it was by Shirley Bilodeau from the Idaho Commission for Libraries. They had great resources that she gave out, and she also spoke highly of our Mara. And Jennifer Fenton of the Washington State Library. There were 2 half-day workshops, and they went over basics for understanding your community and engaging with it and implementing a project by targeting your audience. And the resources that they handed out a lot of them were from the Idaho Commission for Libraries, and you can actually go on site to get some of those resources. And some resources that they handed out were from the Harwood Institute, which was really interesting, which is actually funded by IMLS, I think. I attended 2 sessions on technology, digital literacy for everyone, going from tech adverse to tech savvy. And that was presented by Crystal Schimpf and Kieran Hickson of Kixel Training. They provided a list of digital literacy resources and an activity sheet to be used by staff members to set goals for digital literacy. So that's something that I would like to implement at my library. Also went to strengthening your tech core by Mary Beth Schaefer of Central Kansas Library System. And she was giving us a bunch of resources that are online that you can use to strengthen your technology skills. And some of the resources I think we all know, but some of them we don't. Web Junction, YouTube, Windows has tutorials, GCF Learn Free Online, and the Google site Core Library Technology Skills. Another session I went to was Strategic Planning for Small Library, Aim for the Future by Planning Now. And it was given by Gail Santee of the Central Kansas Library System. That program was really interesting because it gave you a little, a different take on strategy planning. It talked about some Japanese techniques. One of them was Kaizen, which means continual improvement. And you improve by following the 5S Kaizen principles. Sort, which means to separate essentials from non-essentials. Set things in order by making sure you have policies and procedures in place. Clean and shine, realize the impact your library makes on others. Standardize, set up expectations, standards and best practices. And self-discipline, commit to continual improvement. And then the other Japanese thing was Kanban, a visual tool. So she had mentioned that if you have these strategic plans and you have these goals and things that you're going to do, you have a list of things that you're going to do. And then when you start working on them, you move those to a list of what you're working on. And then when you're done with that, then you move them to a list that you have completed. So it's a visual thing of how you're progressing, which I thought was really, really interesting. My favorite workshop was the Pursuit of Happiness through libraries with Sharon Morris of the Colorado State Library. The presenter spoke of positive psychology, which I thought was really cool. I've never heard of it, and I've been kind of researching it a little bit. How to perpetuate happiness in your library, and they included different templates for activities that you could do to reflect on how you perceive things and how you can have more of a positive outlook on things. And I thought was really interesting, the handouts that they gave out had a little quote from John Cotton Dana, a New Jersey public librarian who actually was born in Woodstock, Vermont. And the quote was, "The public library is the center of public happiness first, of public education next." So I thought that was really cool. So my thing is I enjoyed the experience immensely. It was a national conference, but I felt like it was a small venue, so it had that small town feel, and a lot of the sessions were really relevant for small librarians from small libraries. So worth it.
Thank you, Sandy. That's great.
Not small librarians. Small librarian.
Hi, my name is Allison Maynard. I'm from Petty Memorial Library in Wilmington. I think the biggest takeaway I took from the conference was the repeated theme of getting out of the library and how important it is to get out of the library to meet new people, make new bonds, and sort of find out what the community is lacking and where there might be gaps in service. So one of my favorite workshops that we went to was Flip the Switch, and it was about changing the direction of the library. And the presenter was a woman from a library in Texas, I believe. Mm-hmm. And she, thank you, they went from having basically no library whatsoever, and then they came in, and she and a few other people managed to make this really exciting space go on. They started to have a lot of input with teens in the community and started offering programs that hadn't been offered before. So her speech was just so empowering to me. And I think that's when I left, that was really what I took away from the conference, was that small libraries can be empowering, and what we do is important and exciting. And I definitely felt just excited to get out and move new things. Another important thing that that somebody talked about was to set 3 goals for yourself. Set 3 goals for yourself today and go home and get them done. And I did that, and I was excited to find out how easy it was to get it done. They weren't big goals, they were just small things. One of them was to make a marketing plan. And every time we had a program, this is what we're going to do. We're going to talk to, we're going to call the newspaper. We're going to put up posters here. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. And it really wasn't that hard. And now we have a plan every time we have a program. And I also really took away the value of partnership. And one of the things that the woman who did the Flip the Switch program talked about was, and the community building one that Cindy talked about, they talked about meeting new partners and joining new boards. So I actually joined the Rotary Club in Wilmington, and through that we've had some really good successes. We have a new senior, 2 women, a couple nurses, and they are dedicated to helping seniors in our communities. I met them at the Rotary, and they came to me and said, we could really work together because they're new and we have things that they need. We have space and we have knowledge and we have established infrastructure, which is something that they don't have. And people know where we are and how to get to us, and we're on the bus route. And we've got all of these great things that they might not be able to access otherwise. So she came to me and said, can we use the library to do a blood pressure screening? And I said, well, that's actually fantastic, because the State Department of Health came to us and asked us to circulate blood pressure monitors. So, and we've had so success with that program. But she said, okay, great. So we're going to learn about the blood pressure monitors that you have. We're going to have this screening, and we're going to encourage people to circulate your blood pressure monitors and take them home with you. So I think that's a good deal for both of us. I think that'll help both of us out in that situation. And it's nice to know that, whenever I need help from them, they're willing to help, and I'm willing to help them too. So,
yeah, thank you. Yeah.
So I'm Marti Fiske of the Dorothy Alling Library in Williston, and sometimes the heavens just align perfectly, and everything is in order when you need it. And the conference turned out to be just one of that for us, for our staff. We had just finished, perhaps 6 months before, doing our long-term strategic plan, and we were asked to take part in be one of the first 10 libraries to do the EDGE initiative study. We were really excited about doing that because we knew that we had to really focus on beefing up our staff knowledge of technology. And we were in the beginning stages of doing a space study at the same time, which was already huge. And we were trying to make sure that we were getting our marketing out there even better. So first the EDGE initiative came and we started getting resources, and then the ARSL conference came, and what did it focus on? EDGE initiative, space consulting and space development, marketing, and tech training for staff. So couldn't have been better timing. It really worked out absolutely perfectly. So for me personally, the best session that I went to was the pre-conference. We spent an entire day traveling around to 3 different libraries, and 2 of them were new. They were perhaps, I want to say, less than 5 years old. They had varied sizes, varied types of communities that they were dealing with. And so I went with the idea of mostly looking at things like the furniture and the like. But I also found out some things that we were considering doing we probably shouldn't do. And that was actually at the Tacoma Main Library. We were giving a possibility of taking tablets and anchoring them to particular seating areas. When I got to the Tacoma Library, I saw that they had done that, and every single one of them was out of order. And I asked the director who was giving us the tour about them, and she said they were always out of order, they were never working properly, and that they were constantly being hacked because they weren't really ideal for multiple users. They were so easy for people to hack, and they were never working properly. So we didn't do that. We didn't bother wasting our money on that. But I saw amazing, the two other libraries were just amazing. One of them was built in something like 6 months from a module that was delivered from the neighboring state, set up in a neighborhood with mostly brand new Americans and working class, sorry, I've got a spider trying to crawl up my leg, the working class neighborhoods who had never had a library before. There had never been a library in that neighborhood before. Most of them had never used a library. They had no idea how to use the library, not even something like you have to bring these back after you take them out the door. So they were having to teach people things like you can have them for 2 weeks and you can renew them, but you do ultimately have to bring them back to us. And they had set up things by bookstore model because their people just couldn't get their heads around the idea of a Dewey Decimal System. So I'm slowly was warming up to the idea for children, and I am even more so now warmed up to the idea for adults. I don't expect to be doing it for our collection right away, but it's something that we're keeping our eye on. We actually are in the process of perhaps half of our picture book collection going into different types of genres now. So we did, the first few were machines and things that go. So the big trucks and your ships and your trains and all of that stuff that the kids are always looking for. Huge success, huge success. We can't keep the cart full. Then we went into growing up, so things like doctor's visits, when a pet dies, that sort of thing. And then counting counting in colors. I think it was like math concepts. So pretty soon we're getting ready for another 10 to go in right now. Nature, I know, is one of them. Dinosaurs. I can't even remember the list, but there's about 10 things. So we're going to have about half of the picture book changed over into that system. And eventually we may end up doing this in the adult collection, at least portions of it, but not at this point right now. I took tons of pictures of equipment, of furniture, of all sorts of different displays, and we are looking at using a lot of those in order to do our own space ideas. We're actually, in about a month, we're getting ready to change over our reference / adult computer room into a quiet study room. We finished taking out our reference collection, so it's a very small, about 4 shelves of quick ready reference. Everything else either went into circulating or was taken out of the library altogether. And so the next thing is to start purchasing smaller, movable tables and a couple of comfortable chairs and turn that into a quiet study space. One of the areas of problems that we discovered from our variety of surveys and space surveys of how people were using things in the library was that people were having a problem with getting quiet workspace. There was just too many multi-purpose spaces in the library. So we're working on that. So it was really great to be able to have an opportunity to go out and visit other libraries. I've always enjoyed the opportunity to do that in Vermont, but to go to the opposite side of the state, and because we are really good at sharing things with each other, so we easily hear about what's going on in the southern part of the state versus the north. But they had some really new things that we hadn't considered over there on the west coast. So the information that I learned, we are already using. And I feel very confident now about the methods that we went through for the space changes, and I'd be very happy to pass on resources to anyone who's interested in that.
Thank you, Marti. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Nancy Wilson, and I've worked in Vermont libraries for more than 30 years. for the last 25, I've been the director at the Lawrence Memorial Library in Bristol. So I've been to a lot of conferences, from ALA to NELA to VLA. I've often taken every opportunity I could get. But it's been really difficult the last few years to feel inspired by any of the conferences I've attended. But the ARSL conference was a clear exception to that. It was the best conference I've ever been to. I would recommend it to anyone who's been new to libraries or someone who's in the twilight years of their career, like I am. And I was inspired because every workshop I went to was really tailored towards small libraries. When you go to a conference like ALA, I think someone else already mentioned that a lot of the things they talk about are sort of out of our reach. I felt like a lot of the continual advice through the workshops that I went to was think small. When you're doing long range planning, don't expect to do every single thing on your long range plan all at once. Pick one thing to work on or two things to work on for 6 months, and think smaller and specific. So I thought that was really good advice. The part of the conference that I enjoyed the most was the pre-conference, and I did go to a community building workshop, and we did some group work where we got together and targeted a specific individual in our community that we might want to reach. And our group came up with a single or married man who's got a college education, underemployed, a little bit isolated, looking for things to do. So we came up with the idea of sponsoring trivia night at a local pub, which I was all excited about because I'm a trivia fan, as a lot of librarians are. So I brought that idea home with me, and I actually started doing it at a local restaurant. I decided not to do a pub because I wanted it to be all ages, and being in a pub was not a good idea. But the restaurant that we do it in does serve draft beer and drinks. So, and it's a Tuesday night, which is really slow night at the restaurant. And we have had so many people, like 40 and 50 people come to our Tuesday night trivia nights. And it's just it's wildly successful. And I realized that we need to sort of rethink the library as being a building within four walls, and we need to go out into the community and do more things like trivia. And I know a lot of us do that already, trivia night and outreach story times and those kinds of things. I think that the days of us relying on people wandering in and taking out books are dwindling quickly. So we really need to offer services and programs to the community, in the community where people are, rather than expect them to come to us. So that's been a real success. And I was really pleased because I'd forgotten after that day that they asked us to fill out postcards with our goal on them. And I had put start trivia nights, and I got it in the mail a few months later. I was like, wow, I did it. So I had fulfilled my goal. So I would definitely recommend anyone who wants to apply for a scholarship to Little Rock. And I think they're in Boston after that.
Manchester, New Hampshire.
Manchester, New Hampshire. So go to Manchester, New Hampshire. We should have a huge Vermont representation there. And I think that that's about all I want to say. There were lots of great workshops, but I'm sure other people will talk about other ones. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Loona Brogan, and a lot of what I was going to say has already been said, and the technology is getting tweaked. I hope. What are you trying to do?
Trying to get to your presentation.
Oh, it would be that one. There we go. Yep. So Cindy talked about my two favorite workshops already, but when I was looking back at what I got out of it, I kind of knew that a lot of what I would have said was going to get said by other people. So I thought I'd go a little deep into a couple of the things in particular that I wanted to bring back and share. So, but in listening to everyone else talk today, I just want to come back around to how grateful I was to be able to go. We're a really small library, one person, part-time library, and it was a really awesome opportunity. I didn't meet too many other people other parts of the country or from other states that had an opportunity like that, like we got. So it also made me really grateful to come back to Vermont. It was, a change of scenery, a change of perspective to realize how lucky we have it. We have a really supportive Department of Libraries. Most of us have really supportive communities, and that's not really true of librarians and libraries everywhere in the U.S. So it's nice to be reminded of that. And also, it was neat to see how much librarians have in common, but how many different kinds of librarians there are at the same time. In one way, when I was out around the town, it was pretty easy to guess who was in there as a librarian, but at the same time, that there just really were all different flavors and sizes of personalities. That was a lot of fun. So the immersion in, wanting to serve our communities the best that we can and wanting our libraries to be the best that they can be is really not something you can get out of a workshop that you go to for an hour or for half a day or for a day. I mean, the core courses that you have to take if you're doing the certificate kind of are kind of like that, but you still go home every day during those. And the immersion, I think, is really a good reason to figure out a way to make it happen. And if I could make it happen, I feel like all of y'all can make it happen. If you want to go, you should go. So I'm gonna just talk a minute about a couple of the workshops, the pursuit of happiness and the digital literacy that Cindy touched on earlier. I was so blown away by Sharon Morris of the Colorado Department of Libraries. I wanted to emulate the way she did the workshop. I just was so inspired. I'm like, wow, she's like my heroine. Everything about it just felt like she had so much respect for the people who came. And she just made it so easy and so natural for us all to be participants and not just audience members. The way she laid out the room, the kind of handouts, the way they were formatted, and then even the outline of the way she did it. She had a funny story, then she talked for a while about what she was there to tell us, and then we had some experience with the different things, and then we shared back. It's a pretty familiar formula, but it was so smooth that it wasn't until afterwards that I thought, what just happened that was so great? And maybe the token memento that she offered. So if you guys are going to do any trainings with people, start with a funny story that's kind of like the theme of what you're trying to get across. And then at the end, give a token memento. She had these little unicorn pins that she gave all of us who attended. And we could recognize each other at the conference, people who had attended her workshop. And also something for us to remember later. And what she offered was really something that was really fun and felt really good to remember. So, of course, we can't see the video that she started us out with. Sean Aker, The Happy Secret to Better Work, was a TED Talk. But I have the link down there on the slide. And if you just go to TED.com and put in The Happy Secret to Better Work or Sean Achor, Achor, you got to see this video. It's so funny. It's really funny. We were like rolling on the floor. But what her take-home message really was is that it's been scientifically proven that, here, I can't see my own screen, so I'll look at my handouts, that there are exercises that increase happiness, and happy people are more effective in their work. So pursuing happiness is not only not selfish, but an inherently responsible endeavor and could be promoted to the benefit of all. So that was a really powerful thing to spend some time thinking about. She offered 5 different tools, and I think she took them straight out of Sean Aker's work. He has a couple of books, The Happiness Advantage and Before Happiness are 2 of them. He probably has more, but I really was more focused on putting the slideshow together than researching Sean Aker at the time. But I think I really want to get at least one of his books for our library.
He offered the exercise of doing 3 gratitudes a day, and we tried that out. Positive journaling, based on the premise that if you get into the habit of framing things in the positive, your brain will just start doing that by itself. Like it changes the lens. His whole point was, 90% of the way we experience life has to do with our perspective. And so perspective is not just something that fate gives us. We can shape it like a lens. And exercise, meditation, performing acts of kindness, they all help our lens to be the kind of lens that's better to look through, that feels better and makes us more effective as librarians. So for ourselves or for staff development, or even as an inspiration for library programming, the pursuit of happiness at the libraries was just the best thing. Anyone who's here, and a lot of people I met there will know I just gushed about it the whole time. Oh, you got to go, because she offered it twice. So if you see a workshop in Arkansas by Sharon Morris, you probably will. You should totally go to it. So the other one, digital literacy for everyone. Karen Hickson and Crystal Schmidt they have a company, Kixel. If you look at, that's their name, see Kixel. Yeah. They met at the Department of Libraries in Colorado, actually, and Sharon Morris was their mentor, and so they learned from her. It just happens that Kieran is a friend of mine, and so that's why I know that. Yeah, he graduated recently from Goddard, so he has a little Vermont connection going for him there. But it was the first time at the conference that I had a chance to meet him in person. We were friends through mutual friends, actually, and the fact that he was also a small-town librarian. But their handouts were also really effective. It was basically an outline of what was being provided and blanks underneath the big pieces of the outline. So, where you would naturally be taking notes, you could put them in the structure of the way the presentation was happening. And that activity sheet that they gave us to use was just worth its weight in gold. It was just like, basically, it was a recipe, it was a formula, like you can increase your digital literacy here, just follow these easy steps, and they also gave us each a pledge sheet, which was similar to the 3 goals postcard that some people got, and asked us all to make a pledge, something we were going to do from what we learned when we got back to our hometown libraries. I took a couple of the slides from their website just to show you, build a process, and that process is identify the goal, identify resources, and then, decide your course of action. Go ahead and make it something you do. For example, with social networking, you want to be familiar with social networking tools, understand privacy issues, edit options and settings in different accounts, and upload content, such as photos and videos. Those are great goals to improve social networking. So you could go to Digital Learn, or you could go to GCF Learn Free, for example, where you could find free tutorials that would increase your digital literacy. And there's the activity sheet. I will learn this new skill. These resources will help me learn, ... and I will learn this by this date. So pretty black and white. It's demystified the whole, where do I start? What do I do? This again from their website, some of the slides that they used during the presentation, digitallearn.org. This is a great thing to point patrons to. It's got little 15, 10-minute video tutorials that are totally professionally done on things like getting started on the computer, using a PC, basic search skills, navigating a website. I haven't looked too closely at them, but I'm sure one of them is, this is a mouse, and this is how a mouse, basic stuff for people that are really beginners. Folks that are worried about privacy and the internet, there's some great resources at onguardonline.gov
and more tutorials and resources for people that want to self-learn technology skills at learnfree.org. So finally, true to their mentors' philosophy of keep it fun, that the digital literacy people offered something fun, that a tool that people can be pointed to that are just learning to use technology to actually apply what they're learning, that it's not too overwhelming. Storybird, I think it's storybird.org. No, storybird.com. It says right there on the screen photo. It's a free program, and you can get an account as an individual, or you can get an account as an educator. You get access to people's art, and you use their art as an impetus to start writing. And then you can make like picture books with their art. You can just have one picture and write a poem from it. You can have a picture that's the start of a chapter. And it's kind of blog-esque in that you can share what you write with other people. You can make it public that anyone can look at it, or you can just keep it for yourself. And you can even buy bound versions of what you create. You can download PDFs of it for $2, or you can have a paying membership for a little bit more and download anything, anytime that you make. It's really fun. And so I thought I would offer that up as the little memento at the end of this is what I did. And these are great examples of the kind of stuff you could bring back to your community. And so you should totally go.
Just go. Just go.
You should.
I'm sorry, I should have exited. Exit full screen, I think. There you go. Whoops. Now you just use that other tab down at the bottom to go to meeting. That one. And the other one too. Maybe.
Yeah.
Okay. Hi, I'm Joy Worland, and I'm currently at the Kellogg Hubbard Library. And when I got the scholarship to go to this, I was the director at the Jocelyn Memorial Library in Waitsfield. When I went to the workshop or to the conference, I was actually working at both libraries, which was very interesting because although they're both technically small libraries, they're quite different in size, but there were things that were very relevant actually to both of them. So that was kind of an extra bonus for me. A lot of the things that had the most impact on me have already been said. The biggest one just being the relevancy of almost every workshop that was offered, and also the relevancy of just speaking to the other people, meeting people just casually on breaks and that sort of thing, because there was so much common ground no matter where we were from. And I have also had that experience that other people mentioned of going to ALA workshops, and they have a lot of great ideas, and the size and scope of them and the budget and the space that they're doing it in is just overwhelming. And this was completely inspiring because some of the libraries were even smaller than even the Waitsfield Library where I was working. The Flip the Script one, which was really one of the most terrific things, one that was mentioned about the woman in Texas who just started from nothing and has this really vibrant teen group and a lot of programming. It was almost the exact same size as Waitsfield. So it was just really great to see, like, if they can do that there, we can do something similar in the places that I work. So one thing that people haven't really talked about yet that I think was a real asset was the structure of the conference, which I thought was really beneficial. So there were sessions where we would start out like having a meal, and they would provide a meal and someone would speak at that, and then break into smaller groups. And that happened, I think, pretty much every day. I want to just stress the food part because it's really expensive for us with not huge salaries to go to conferences and even to eat meals. And they were feeding us constantly at this. And I really felt like that was not, it was of course nice to have the food, but it also, I felt like it was an acknowledgement that
we aren't people who have a lot of money, and it's expensive for us to stay in a hotel. I mean, of course, we had generous scholarship in this case, but still, everybody that was there didn't, and that can really be a challenge, and it can mean that people can't go because there's all sorts of different varying levels of support from libraries. And I also just want to say I think it's terrific that the Department of Libraries gave these scholarships, and I really encourage people to apply for them because that also just took a lot of the stress out of it, because I've had funding from my libraries before, but never quite enough. And so, there's a lot of eating fruit in my hotel room and that sort of stuff. And it just wasn't an issue. I mean, I could just concentrate on what I was really there to do. So that part was terrific. And I want to say again that Michael said at the beginning that it was really great to get to know the people here. I mean, I knew some of them by face or from an online presence, but it was really nice just to be able to see them and talk about what we're doing in a way that I hadn't really had a chance to do before. So that was awesome. So I also wanted to say that there's great diversity of what was offered, and I'm sure this is probably true at each of them. So I had just a list here of the ones that I went to. So I went to a pre-conference, which was probably the most rewarding one. I'll talk a little bit more about that one specifically, but that one was called Talking to Voters About Your Library. And then I went to one on customer service, which was terrific. The Flip the Switch, going from tech averse to tech savvy. And I just want to say about that one in particular that those kind of technology things at larger workshops are often kind of intimidating, I think, because I leave feeling like, oh, I'm just not even close, and we aren't close to having the resources, even if I personally were, more experienced in that area of librarianship. And this was just like, no, we can do this. One of the presenters was working in this little tiny place, and so that was really inspiring about that one. I went to Assessing Authenticity in Multicultural Picture Books, which really had nothing to do with the size of the library, but it was just super fun and really interesting. I kind of did that one was, it was the last morning, and it was my little treat to myself because I love that kind of stuff. But it was great. I think that, there was something a little bit more content and book oriented there offered, as well as some of the other things. Marketing using social media. The Edge Initiative presentation, the woman gave a presentation, I think it might have been over lunch. And then I have to say that Clancy Poole, the Library Journal Paraprofessional of the Year, spoke, and she was one of the highlights, I think, because she basically was, I think it might have been the last day, was it the last breakfast of the last day? And I kind of felt like she was so vibrant and so funny and so active at her library. And I felt like she was pretty much embodying what we've been talking about like for the last 3 days. Here's somebody who's doing it. So that part was really cool. So just a little bit specifically about the pre-conference I went to, which was talking to voters. Basically, it was advocacy on steroids. I mean, it was getting voters or anybody to sort of buy into your library, particularly if you're doing like a campaign or a capital campaign or a referendum and that sort of thing. And I went to that because there was an opportunity. I think there probably still is the opportunity at the Waitsfield Library pretty soon to expand. So we wanted to get some information about that. But it's also really relevant to where I'm working now, where we work with 5 different towns and just getting the support. And it was a lot of stuff that we've heard before about articulating the awesomeness of libraries, but it was a little bit more practical than sometimes, and really focused on not just how great the library is, but a focus more on what our resources can do for the other people. So it's not that our resources are so terrific, it's that they will make you, the patron, or the community member, have opportunities you wouldn't have otherwise. So very practical things about starting a business or learning technology or using the meeting spaces and finding language to articulate those to people who might not be library users, but helping them understand the practical, like the library conference room could change somebody's life because that's where they started their small business and now they're making a living doing that and that sort of thing. So that again was very, it was very inspiring, and I thought that workshop and really pretty much all of them that I went to were, the format was really well done. They weren't all the same format, but there was at each of them a mix of lecturing and demonstrations and slides and that sort of thing, and then almost always a hands-on, breaking into small group kind of thing. And of course, that's way easier to do if it's a smaller workshop. So that was a real plus to that as opposed to going to, a lecture where there's 200 people in the room like it is at the bigger conferences. So I think that's about all. I mean, I just thought it was definitely the best conference that I've been to. I've been to 4 or 5, and it was terrific. So as Loona said, do it. Go. Thank you.
Do you have any questions?
So have not been any.
Okay. I guess we'll wrap up then, unless anybody has comments they would like to make. I mean, these are excellent presentations. Really, wow. That was great. That's it, Mike. Yes. No comments.
Jolene, thank you everyone for your insight.
All right. I am impressed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.